Pickle, it's Tuesday.
TUESWAYS.
Let's go to the hotline. We're pleased to be joined by the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer, our friend Craig Way. Craig, do you read us?
Loud and clear. How are you folks?
We're doing great. Surging into Week 8 of the Texas High School football season. I just want to ask you, because I know there are people who are certainly always interested in this kind of thing. You were on High School Scoreboard Live on Valley Sports Southwest until midnight, and then you were calling the Texas-Oklahoma game at 11 o'clock on Learfield. And so what – can you take us through those intervening hours between midnight when people last saw you on the television and then 11 a.m. when they first heard your dulcet tones on the radio?
At the risk of boring people to tears, it was a matter of turning down an opportunity to go have a post-show beverage with you and our producer, Patrick Madrovsky.
Non-disclosure.
So I went back to the hotel, lay down for about 5 hours, got up, showered, dressed, put on the coat and tie, and headed down to the Cotton Bowl, left about 6:30, got in right around just past 7 a.m. I like to be in the booth in the neighborhood of 3.5 to 4 hours prior to kick, especially for that game with all the craziness. And I had to get my breakfast, which was the deep fried oatmeal cream pie in a Dr. Pepper batter with a Big Red reduction off of it. It was a nice way to start the day.
Okay, let me tell you, Pickle is not a sweets person, but
my
she's about to
goodness.
sprint to Fair Park and go get one of those. That's...
It was outstanding, and my sons had that Biscoff the Light thing, which won the Big Tex Award for sweet one. But I gave them a piece of mine, and they said mine was better. The oatmeal cream pie, the deep fried. It was something else. It was special. I got to tell you.
Well, I'll tell you, that'll get you through the game for sure. That'll give you plenty of energy.
Yeah, I was plenty charged for the up to call that last drive. But I got to ask you to this. Here was that last drive for Oklahoma, and this thought went through my mind, and it had to move quickly because the Oklahoma drive only took a minute and 5 seconds. But this thought went through my mind. Right in the middle of that, I think it was right before Dylan Gabriel hit Drake Stoops with that big pass. The flash went into my mind. Did Tepper give Pickle all kinds of grief about Universal City Randolph beating Llano last night?
I didn't, because I'm a good friend. However, Universal City Randolph, I will just here's my take on it, and this is a good place to start. I don't think that's a bad loss for Llano. I think Randolph might have a little something.
And Llano's on their third string quarterback.
Oh, here we go.
Just throwing that out there.
Well, I tell you what, I agree with you about Randolph. We've seen them quite a bit. The teams that I think, and I think you think this too, that may have flown under the radar going into the season, but they're very much on the radar now, are inclusive of, but not limited to, Universal City Randolph and Honeygrove.
Yes.
I think are two teams, as we've talked about them because of the 0-point thing that they had going. So, that's those two had certainly come to mind. And of course, it's a big game, them playing Cooper this week.
No points, no punts there for Honeygrove. Okay. I mentioned this on Scoreboard on Friday night, and then I mentioned it again on the show yesterday. It does feel like, and maybe it's just the weather cooling off, but it does feel like in the games that we were monitoring on Valley Sports Southwest, and I know the games that they were monitoring on Texas Football Tonight, that there's an extra sense of intensity now, and that I could sense in a number of the real kind of hallmark games and the kind of like headline games that we were covering, I could sense that, oh yeah, we've turned things up a notch, and that these games, you can tell on the field that they matter. They don't need us in a studio telling them that they matter. I'm curious to see if you felt that as well.
Yes, I did, and it wasn't just because we had the uber ultra dramatic open to our show with the voice guy going, "It's district play. It means something more now." You know, that kind of thing. I agreed with it, by the way, and it did. And I think that intensity does ratchet up. Coaches tell the kids that. Here's the other thing that comes in along with that. It's almost organic. I'm not even talking about the numeric value of district play and the importance of it. It's somewhat organic with kids because they're playing teams they know pretty well, sometimes very well, sometimes arch rivalries, or at least somewhat. Let me give you an example. In the greater Austin area, in the Round Rock Independent School District, Round Rock has gotten off the deck from an 0-3 start. They got a huge game with Vandergrift this week, and it's big. Westwood has had a nice start. They're kind of wobbling a bit, but they're still trying to stay in playoff contention. Stony Point is struggling, and Cedar Ridge is struggling. And so the schools, and McNeil started off promising, and they're struggling a bit. But it doesn't matter. Those 5 schools, there is an inveterate dislike, strong dislike, no matter what the pairing is. Round Rock against Westwood is a battle for the bell. It's a big arch rivalry thing. But it doesn't matter. Westwood and McNeil are the 2 schools closest to the Kelly Reeves Athletics Complex, which, by the way, is actually in the city of Austin. But they'll play, and is closer to Cedar Park Ridge's campus than it is to either of the other schools. But it doesn't matter. Those 2 schools have an intense dislike for one another. Cedar Ridge and Stony Point, with Cedar Ridge getting a lot of the kids from Stony when the school opened years ago. So there's, and they all hate Round Rock. So I mean, it's that kind of stuff pops up in district play. Again, the old throw the record books out the window kind of stuff. But it's true in a lot of districts. That's just one example of stuff like that happens all across the state of Texas.
Talking with Craig Wade, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer, here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. There was a couple of other games on Friday last week, Craig, that I would that I think we talked about winning your clunkers, winning games when you're not at your best. That's kind of the mark of like every team. There's ideally for a team, they're going to play 16 games. They're not going to play 16 perfect games. They're going to have a couple games where they really have to struggle and they really have to fight a little bit. 2 of those in particular that are highly ranked, actually both number 2 in the rankings, were Longview, who got into a real dogfight with Forney, and then Galena Park North Shore, who took who kind of struggled but pulled away from Humble Summer Creek. Are there any lingering concerns about either one of those, or do you just say, you know what, it was a tough game, you put it in the left-hand column, and you move on?
I think they're 2 different things there, Tep. I think in the case of Longview, I think that was a bit of a clunker in that situation. No disrespect to Forney. And on the show, I referred to Coach John King as the king of clunkers. And what I meant by that in the most complimentary fashion was that he can get his team to push through the wall when they're not at their best and still register a win. There's a knack for that. There's a talent for that with coaches. In the case of the other game, I think some folks might have been selling Summer Creek short. I think they're good. Now, the pedigree of North Shore ultimately emerged, but I think Summer Creek could be dangerous in that D2 bracket once we get on into the postseason.
One last question for Craig Way. It's the meanest thing we do to each other each week, and I'm going to give you 3 games, Craig, and you're only allowed to teleport to one of them. You can either teleport to Galveston County for Columbus and Hitchcock. You can teleport to, let's just say, San Antonio. It's a big week in the Alamo City. For San Antonio Johnson and San Antonio Reagan in the Stone Oak Super Bowl. Or you can teleport to Argyle for a game dripping with narrative with Frisco Emerson visiting Argyle. Which of those 3 are you teleporting to?
So no Fort Stockton Monahans.
You could do Fort. Well, where is that game?
It's at Monahans.
In Monahans.
It is,
which is fun, but Fort Stockton might be even better.
Yeah. I think that that's going to be a supreme challenge for Fort Stockton. But I would probably go with Argyle Emerson, because we're going to see maybe one of 2 things happen. We're either going to see Argyle shake off the rust and the disappointments of what they've had early as they start to try to get their legs underneath them again and reestablish themselves as a contender, or we're going to see the new sheriff in town. You know, we're going to see Kendall Miller, and we're going to see Emerson be extremely, rough customers. So I like that. Now, Hitchcock Columbus is just, that's, we like to say rock fight, taffy pull, slobber knocker, all of the above. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad we've got Shelby Coppage at that game for us for Scoreboard Live, that and for Texas and for Football Friday. That's going to be a lot of fun, I have to say. And I mean, Isabella Radovan will be at that Stone Oak Super Bowl. That's going to be a lot of fun. So this week you are being particularly mean because there's there's a lot of good games out there that have what is it? Abilene Wiley and Lubbock Cooper.
Yeah, it's a really
this
good one.
week. Or is it Ryder? I'm trying to remember. Anyway,
you got it both. It's Abilene Wiley versus Ryder, and it's Abilene High versus Lubbock Cooper. It's a big week in the Big Country too.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was conflating the two matchups, but they're both of those are big, and so this is a big week, which rolls it all the way back to your original point about district games and how they're starting to reach critical mass now. China Spring, La Vega. There's games that are really, really important all across the state of Texas this week.
He's Craig Way. He's the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. You can hear him on the Craig Way Show every weekday, 2 to 4 on AM 1300 The Zone in Austin, and then you can see him on High School Scoreboard Live Friday night on Bally Sports Southwest alongside myself and Aaron Hardigan. And don't listen for him on the radio on Saturday because Texas has the week off, and I'm sure you're going to relish that.
It'd be nice, considering Pickle going up to see the alma mater in action on Saturday.
There we go.
That's right. Go Mean Green. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend.
All right, y'all two take care.
There he goes, Craig Way, the
Bye,
Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. Joins us every Tuesday here on Texas Football Today. I mean, he's right. Like, we talked about on Tep and Step, which is up now, by the way, for subscribers on TexasFootball.com, about how, like, Columbus and Hitchcock is, like, it's box office. You know what I mean? It's, like, really, really big-time stuff. That's a huge matchup. From a narrative perspective and from, like, a storyline perspective, Emerson and Argyle is really, really intriguing. Just because either Argyle kind of reasserts itself as like the king of the, like you got to go through us. Like, of course, like we're going to swat you, the little newcomer, aside. Or, as Craig said it, there's a new sheriff in town. Like there's a new boss. There's a new big swinging around here. And it could be Emerson. We'll find out on Friday night in Argyle. On the road. I said on Texas Football, or I said on Tep and Step, I'll say it here. The biggest game in Frisco Emerson history.
Correct.
Absolutely. Anyway, we appreciate Craig Way hopping on with us.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.